Toronto's Line 2 Bloor-Danforth is about to get a makeover, and no, it's not another layer of paint on the station walls. The TTC has officially lined up a deal with Alstom to deliver 70 brand new subway trains, marking the end of an era for the aging T1 fleet. If you've ever heard one of these cars screech into the station and thought, that doesn't sound healthy, you weren't wrong. They've been in service since the late 90s. In subway years, that's like keeping a Nokia flip phone alive in 2025 and pretending it's fine. Now here's the split. 55 of the new trains will go directly to Line 2, replacing the T1s and giving riders their first major fleet refresh in more than 2 decades. The other 15 trains are earmarked for Toronto's ambitious subway extensions, most notably the Scarborough Subway Extension, or SSE, and the Line 1 Yonge North Extension, YNSC, to Richmond Hill. These aren't just extra cars sitting in a garage somewhere. They're the lifeline that will make sure that these expansions actually function the way planners promised. Let's start with the basics. Line 2 is the spine of Toronto's east-west travel. Every weekday, hundreds of thousands of people depend on those trains to get from Etobicoke to Scarborough and everywhere in between. The T1 cars currently running the route are reliable in the way your grandma's VCR is reliable. Sure, it still works, but don't expect Netflix-level performance. They lack open gangways, they're less accessible, and they're not built for the demands of modern automatic train control, or ATC. The new trains, by contrast, will have open gangway designs like Line 1's TR fleet, meaning passengers can move between cars freely. That may not sound like a big deal, but it actually makes a huge difference in distributing crowds. No more watching one car pack like a mosh pit while another is roomy enough for a yoga class. They'll also be fully accessible, quieter, smoother, and crucially, built to work seamlessly with ATC. ATC itself is the secret sauce here. It allows trains to run closer together safely, meaning more frequent service during rush hour. Instead of being stuck on a platform muttering signal problems under your breath, you'll actually see trains arriving on schedule. Pairing new trains with a modern signal system is like upgrading from dial-up internet to fiber optic. It changes the entire experience. Now let's zoom in on Scarborough. For decades, residents there were told to make do with the unreliable Line 3 Scarborough RT, which is now, of course, shuttle buses. That line, now decommissioned, was notorious for breaking down in snow, in heat, and sometimes just because it felt like taking a day off. The replacement shuttle buses have been a nightmare. Crowded, slow, and basically the opposite of what a world-class city should be offering. The Scarborough Subway Extension is supposed to fix all of that. By extending Line 2 nearly 8 kilometers from Kennedy Station and adding 3 brand new stations, Scarborough will finally have a one-seat subway ride into downtown Toronto. But here's the catch. Extending the track without new trains would have been like adding new lanes to a highway but forgetting to buy more cars. Useless. The TTC's own planning documents say that they'll need at least 7 new trains just for Scarborough on opening day. Without them, the added ridership could crush Line 2's already light capacity. So when people hear 70 new trains are coming, it's not just about smoother rides on the existing line, it's about Scarborough residents finally having reliable service that can handle the demand from day one. Let's not forget the Yonge North Subway Extension, which will extend Line 1 beyond Finch Station into York Region, with service into Markham, Vaughan, and Richmond Hill. For decades, commuters in those areas have been crammed into buses feeding Finch Station, creating that famous human traffic jam on the terminal platforms. Once the extension opens, thousands of riders who currently rely on buses will funnel directly into the subway system. But here's the issue. Line 1 is already one of the busiest subway lines in North America, and extending it north without adding new trains would have been an exercise in futility. You'd be giving riders access to the line, sure, but only to stand shoulder to shoulder for 12 stops. That's where this new train order comes in. Of the 15 trains reserved for expansions, about 8 will go on Line 1's Yonge extension to make sure service can absorb the wave of new riders. More trains means more frequent service, and more frequent service means you won't have to elbow your way into the car like you're watching a wrestling match. It's not just Scarborough and Richmond Hill that benefit here. These trains are part of a broader strategy to future-proof Toronto's subway system as the city expands. Other projects like the Ontario line will shift travel patterns and put less pressure on Line 1 and 2 in new ways. Without a healthy supply of modern trains, every extension would simply bottleneck the system further. Think of it like upgrading your home's electrical wiring before installing new appliances. If you don't increase capacity at the core, the whole system shorts out. These 70 trains are the wiring upgrade Toronto's subway desperately needs. You'll allow not only for Scarborough and Richmond Hill to integrate into the system better, but also give the city breathing room when other mega projects like the Ontario line and Eglinton Crosstown, and including the West Extension, will eventually come online. Let's talk numbers. The contract is valued at around $2.3 billion. That's a hefty bill, but remember, you're buying 70 full train sets, each with 6 cars, designed for decades of service. These trains aren't luxury toys, they're workhorses built to handle hundreds of thousands of trips every single day. As for when they're going to arrive, the first deliveries are targeted for around 2030. Yes, that's still 5 years away or so, but train procurement is a long process. Between design, manufacturing, testing, and certification, there's no shortcut. And in the meantime, the TTC is working on keeping those T1s running safely, even if they occasionally sound like they're screaming in protest when pulling into St. George. For the everyday commuter, the benefit boils down to this: more reliable trains, more frequent service, and fewer delays. If you live in Scarborough, it means your subway extension won't be an overcrowded nightmare from the start. If you live in Richmond Hill, it means that when Line 1 finally reaches your doorstep, it will actually have the capacity to take you downtown without inducing claustrophobia. For everyone else already riding Line 2, it means those ancient T1 cars will finally go the way of cassette tapes, remembered fondly by transit enthusiasts, but not missed during your morning commute. The open gangways will make every train feel roomier, ATC will make service more reliable, and accessibility upgrades will make sure more people can actually use the system comfortably. These new 70 subway cars are sole-sourced from Alstom. Of course, whenever you hear sole-sourced contract, your brain screams overpriced. But the TTC insists that there are safeguards. Alstom has to meet all the technical specs, maximize Canadian jobs, and this part's my favorite: submit to a third-party market price assessment, which is basically like saying, don't worry, we'll get someone else to tell us if we're being ripped off. Translation: the TTC knows Torontonians have been burned before, and they're trying to sound like they've learned something from the Eglinton Crosstown fiasco. Whether they actually have or not is a different story. For Thunder Bay, this is huge. That Alstom plant has been through more ups and downs than the Scarborough RT before it shut down. Workers have seen some contracts come and go. Jobs vanish and return, and now finally they've got a long-term pipeline of work. It's good news. Instead of closing the plant or scrambling to build streetcars nobody ordered, they'll be cranking out subway cars for years. If you're from Thunder Bay, you can thank Toronto's creaky old Line 2 for keeping your paycheck alive. Who knew? In short, this isn't just about replacing old trains, it's about preparing Toronto's subway system for the next generation of riders. Scarborough and Richmond Hill have been promised subway service for decades, and these trains are the final piece that makes those promises possible. Without them, the extensions would have opened half-baked. With them, the TTC is actually matching expansion with capacity. So yes, while we're still going to have to wait a few years, the new trains will finally roll into service. The entire system will feel the difference. It won't just be Scarborough and Richmond Hill celebrating. It'll be every rider who has ever stood on a Line 2 platform wondering if the next T1 would make it through another trip without a breakdown. Toronto asked for better transit, and this time the TTC seems ready to deliver, literally. I hope that you liked the video. If so, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed and want to be notified of new videos that are released, please click on the Art Toronto button here. This is the video that I would recommend for you to watch next, and I'm sure that you're going to love it. Here's the playlist for all of the latest in transit news and views that you're going to find very informative and interesting. And finally, here is the latest video. Thanks for watching and happy transiting.